Hello and welcome to Season 4, Episode 1 of Non-League to Legend. I'm Kev, and coming up in today's episode we have the start of the Exeter City adventure. It's game 1 of my career in the Football League. We're at home to Bristol Rovers in League 2. This is going to be exciting stuff, but before we get into any of that, I've got the whole of the summer to tell you about, and also I've noticed that these job changes, these starts of seasons, these are really good jumping on points for people who want to get involved in non-league to legend. We're free at this, well, it's start the 4th season now, so there's quite a lot of backlog to work through if you want to get involved at this stage. So I thought, before we get into what's been going on, a quick recap for anyone who is joining the series right now, and it is a good time to join. I'm starting a brand new football club, so we're going to be going through all those stages of building the start of the club. It's like I was starting a brand new save, but we're just 3 years into the future. So by all means, if you're here, new, stick around, say hello. It's going to be awesome. If you want to check out the old stuff, it's all there. You'll find it in the comments. But the story so far is basically, I started out in 2015-16 as manager of Boston United in the Conference North, and we got promoted. We won the title. Didn't work out quite so well though. Second season with Boston, we got relegated on the last day of the season from the Conference National back down to the Conference North, but I never made it back to the Conference North. I jumped ship to York City, also in the Conference National. We finished 6th place, just outside the playoffs. It looked like it was going to be another season of conference football for me, but again, jumped ship, and here I am, Exeter City in the Football League, and the headline is we've got loads of money to spend, because there was a young player who was sold to Newcastle just before I arrived at the club, so there's like £2 million in the bank. I've got a transfer budget and everything. I'm so excited. So this is the squad we're starting things off with. It's July the 1st. These are our players. I covered in the last episode of last season that there's quite a few players, quite a few areas that we need to strengthen. I identified there were some quite good players in this squad as well, but there's going to be a lot of new players coming into the club over the course of the month, 6 weeks or so before we lead up to that first game of the season. So let's get into that. So the first thing we did, we signed this lad, George Glendon. He's a ball-winning midfielder. The reason I like him, he can play central midfield, he can play defensive midfield, he can play attacking midfield, and I feel a diamond coming on. He's only 23 years old. He's going to be able to play in any of the 4 midfield positions in a diamond. So it just seemed like a no-brainer to bring this lad in. Offers a lot of quality in the midfield in all those positions. So very happy to have him signed. I also signed Sean Donolan, who is a fullback. He's going to be coming in to play at left back for us, 22 years old. He's probably only going to be providing cover at left back, because we've got a fairly decent left back at the club already, whose name I can't remember. I'll learn their names eventually. But we needed strength in depth. He's young. He's got a bit of potential. I've kind of been stitched up by my scouts a little bit on this lad, because the coaches don't rate him anywhere near as highly as the scouts did. But he's going to fill a squad place this season, which, I mean, he doesn't look too bad. So he'll be all right as a backup left back. This guy I'm a bit excited about. Julio Pieguezuelo. I think that's how you say it. Let me know in the comments if I'm saying that wrong. He's come from Arsenal, I believe. Free transfer. He's Spanish. He's 21 years old. In fact, yeah, this lad is from Arsenal. He's come from Arsenal, and his previous club was Barcelona. So he's now gone Barcelona, Arsenal, Exeter. And he's only 21 years old, and he's basically now played for Europe's 3 top clubs. This guy, he's going to be a first-choice centre-back for us. He looks far too good to be playing in League 2. And we've got him for a steal. We're only paying him £1,700 a week. We've got him for 2 years. If we're not selling this lad for big money next summer, I don't understand football anymore. So really happy to have him at the club. We then signed Ryan McConnell, who, this guy was at Newcastle. I think he was at Newcastle. I need my player history screens really, but I haven't got them, and they'd be too boring to go through anyway. But he spent the last 3 years at Gateshead, played 2 years at Gateshead in the conference, and then a full year for them in League 2 as well. So he's got plenty of experience at this level. He's still only 22, and looks like he could be a really good challenger for a starting centre-back spot as well. Nearly signed Dale Southwell. I offered him a trial. I didn't think he'd be good enough for League 2. He's proved me right by going to AFC Fylde in the Conference North, but I was so tempted to finally have the return of Dale Southwell, my leading scorer from the very first season back at Boston. Portugal won the World Cup, international football news. They beat Croatia in the final as well. So clearly football's going to go a bit odd over the next few years, if this is anything to go by. And then Roberto Martinez was sacked as England manager. I was very, very close to putting an application in, but didn't want to upset Exeter. And kind of, well, obviously I wouldn't get it, but on that very small chance that I did get it, I'd have no idea what to do. That would be ridiculous. We've then brought in a winger, Stephen Fallon, plays on either wing. We've brought him in to give us a bit of quality on the right-hand side. We are struggling a bit, really, for right wingers. And the reason I like this guy particularly is that he's a left-footed right winger. So we can play him as an inside forward if we go for a 4-3-3 formation. We can play him on the right side of midfield because he's natural there, and he can just as easily go across to the left-hand side of midfield as well. So he's going to give us plenty of options, and I like players who give us plenty of options. We then signed a central midfielder, Jack Rolls. This one is one for the future. He's only 19 years old. He's not going to be good enough to go straight into our first team, but for a 19-year-old on a 2-year contract, lots of quality. His first touch is outstanding for this level. His passing is really good. His technique is really good. He's a fit player. He's going to be a nice little League Two central midfielder. If not this season, then certainly next season. And again, if we're going to be playing with a diamond and we need 4 central midfield players, he's got the ability to play in any of those 4. We then signed a centre-back. We're trying to make sure we don't just go for young players, so we signed a bit of experience here. 29-year-old Miles Addison. Probably isn't going to go straight into the team. We've already signed 2 very good centre-backs, but they're both very young. So Addison has been playing consistently sort of League One Championship level football throughout his career. He's now dropping down to League Two to be a backup player, which is a bit odd. But he's going to provide some extra quality, some extra experience. And if either of those 2 young lads do fall out of form, he's there to just step straight into the side, take their place, and just offer a bit of experience. So to have him in for a couple of years, he can do a bit of tutoring for us as well. Just seemed like the sensible thing to do, especially when we've got money to burn. When we can get a player like this to be a reserve for £850 a week, it just seems like the right thing to do. And we then signed another midfield player. This guy, I say he's a midfield player, but if you look at all those positions he can play in, he is very much a utility player. Probably his future is at right back for us, I would assume. If we're going to be playing with the diamond, we need a nice attacking right back, and he is definitely looking like he could be very comfortable as a wing back for us, bombing up and down that right hand side. And he can do it on the left hand side as well, and he can play in central midfield, and he can play as an attacking midfielder. He's pretty much able to play anywhere on the pitch for us. So another player who's not going to come straight into the first team, but he's very handy to have knocking around the squad. Tom Nichols, this guy was at Exeter when I joined the club, and I let him go purely because I thought I could find a better striker. It turns out I couldn't find a better striker. So 3 weeks after he left the club, 24 years old, he's been at Exeter all his career. He came through the youth team, so I probably shouldn't have let him go in the first place. But I've re-signed him. He's only come in for a couple more years. He's fairly cheap. And yeah, he seemed very, very happy to come back. He'll probably go and get 30 goals for us this season as well and prove I never should have doubted him. But the only reason I let him go is because he didn't stand out as an absolutely outstanding player, and I wanted as much transfer budget to play with as possible. But looking through my shortlists and what my scouts are turning up, there isn't anyone in our price range better than Tom Nichols. So let's have him back at the club. He's going to be a useful striker for us. Last few transfers now. I know I'm going on a little bit, but I want to show you that we really are filling out this squad. Lee Molyneux has come in. He's a left midfield player, 29 years old, bags of experience. If we decide to go back to the 4-4-2, I like I like to use a wide midfielder on one side of my 4-4-2 in midfield, and Molyneux fits the bill perfectly there. So it gives us that option to now play with 2 formations that I really like, either the 4-4-2 narrow diamond, or we could even put it out to a wide diamond. We could play a flat 4-4-2, similar to the one we used with York. Having a player like this in the squad just gives us more options. And again, we've got bags of money to spend, so why not fill the squad up with loads of players? Yes, I know why not. I know there's going to be loads of players unhappy. I just can't help myself. you shouldn't give me money to spend. England have appointed Ronald Koeman to succeed Roberto Martinez, so that's an interesting one. That was even more interesting. I was already getting giddy with the money that I was spending because of this lad. I can't even remember his name. Lewis Bradford. This is the 17-year-old who went to Newcastle last year and Exeter then sat on the money for a year. Well, they had a 30% sell-on for him. He's still not played a league game for Newcastle. He's just made one substitute appearance in the Capital One Cup. And they've offered us £1.5 million to buy out his 30% sell-on clause. Now, obviously, he is going to be a superstar because then they wouldn't offer that much money to buy out a sell-on clause if he wasn't. So I suppose the correct long-term view for the club would have been sit on the 30%, wait for him to be sold for 20 million in a few years' time, and rake in a whole load of money. But, I'm not going to be here that long. An extra £1.5 million now, all of which is going to come into my transfer budget in League Two. I'm going to have nearly £2 million to spend. There was just no way I was ever saying no. I actually think, if we are taking that long-term view, this could end up being the better deal anyway, because with that kind of transfer budget, if I can actually assemble a decent enough team, we could sign the right players now and just rush straight through to the Championship. And a season in the Championship is worth more than £6 million of sell-on clause from Newcastle. And what if the lad gets injured? What if he never makes it? It wasn't a gamble I think we should have taken. We didn't take it. So he's now brought in over £3 million to this football club in the last year and a bit. So we've now got serious money to spend, and I am starting to pay transfer fees now. Why not? Let's go and buy some really good League One, League Two football players. So we've brought in Ryan Donaldson for £120,000 from Cambridge. He's going to play at the tip of our diamond, an attacking midfield player. Loads of quality at this level. He's been playing in League One for ages. He's, for some reason, decided to drop down and sign for Exeter. Just the kind of attacking midfield player that we needed. We've also brought in another experienced midfield player, Sam Foley. He can play anywhere across the midfield. I've brought him in mainly to play on the left wing if we need him, but really he can play in the centre. He could play as the attacking midfielder instead of Donaldson. He could play out wide right. He could even play up front. So why not? We've got loads of money to spend now. Let's bring in quality players like that. And then we've spent £200,000 on Tom Platt, who's a 24-year-old defensive midfielder from Dagenham. He's going to play at the base of the diamond. So we've got Platt at the base, Donaldson at the tip, and then two of these real top quality midfielders we've got at the club in the middle there. And this is starting to look like the kind of team that could win promotion from League Two at the first time of asking, unless League Two's changed massively from the last time I was at this level in previous versions of FM. So this is my first game for Exeter coming up. I know that's been a long intro. I apologise for that. It won't always be this way if you are new. Normally, we're straight into the match a few minutes into the episode. But this is my 145th game in management. I like the fact that my little career history doesn't mention the relegation anymore. It just says I won the league with Boston. I then went to York. I was manager of the year at Boston. I was apparently shortlisted for manager of the year last year, which I don't remember seeing. I was obviously sulking too much at the time. But it's looking like quite a good CV form in there. I can see why Exeter decided to go for me. But let's get into today's match. So this is the team that we're going to be playing, and this is the system that we're going to be playing. So we still haven't been able to bring in a real top quality goalkeeper. That is my main priority for the rest of this transfer window now. I'll go and spend £500,000 on one if I need to, because I don't think Christy Pym is good enough. And I want to buy someone out of the Championship and just stick him in goal and put him back in the Championship within 2 years. I don't know how realistic that is, but that's my plan at the moment. So I've got Pym in goal, a back four that looks like a really strong back four. Dean Winnard at right back, David Tutonda at left back, Niall Canavan, who was at the club when I arrived, as one of the centre backs, and Julio Pieguezuelo as the other one. Then new boy Tom Platt playing as a defensive midfielder on support. The two central midfielders, Isaiah Osborne was already at the club last season, was the star man when I signed. He's playing as a central midfielder on defend. And then George Glendon, my first signing, still still in my plans. He's playing as a central midfielder on support. The other new boy this week, Ryan Donaldson's playing as an attacking midfielder on attack. And then Declan McManus playing as a target man on support, with Tom Nichols, the forgotten man who's now back at the club, playing as an advanced forward. And he's going to bang a hat-trick today just to show me that I shouldn't have let him go. The bench looks very, very good for this level as well. I'm feeling confident about this season. I'm probably going to get absolutely stuffed today. The other problem I've got is I only decided to go for the diamond partway through pre-season, so it means we're only competent with it, and we're also only competent with the 4-4-2 that we were playing for the first half of pre-season, so we don't have a tactic we're particularly familiar with yet, and that could really start to cost us, certainly in these early days when we're not familiar with the tactics, and we are also got a whole load of new players at the club as well, so there could be some early season drubbings, but the board are so relaxed about where we end up finishing. I don't think they're going to care. As long as we don't look like we're going to be relegated, they're just going to give me the time to make this squad work. So even if it takes a couple of years, for the amount of money that's in the club, I can see myself spending a few years at Exeter. I'm enjoying this club already. It's nice to have some money to spend and not be worrying about all that side of things. We don't need the league table on there. That's a hangover from the end of last season. Bristol Rovers are playing a 3-5-2 or 5-3-2 formation. And I don't really know how I feel about that with the fact that we're playing the narrow diamond, because they're going to obviously have a lot of width. The three at the back is going to almost cancel out our attacking midfield player, and they're still outnumbering us in midfield, despite us packing it with 4 central midfield players. So, it's 1-0 up. Excellent. I would say 5-3-2 is a really good system to counter a diamond, but they're obviously not trying to counter the diamond. They're favourites for this match. But we've done really well here. Let's watch this in the 3D highlight. New boy Glendon getting out wide, which is exactly what I want him to be doing from central midfield, getting the cross in. And then McManus as the target man. I mean, it was scrappy, but he scored his header. It's 1-0. That's important. Also important to note is I've not got any player instructions on any of these players at the moment. I'm just playing with the vanilla versions of their positions, purely because I don't want to confuse them even more. So there are going to be tweaks and changes to the system as the season goes on. Oh, McManus has scored again, and that was a beautiful goal. You don't expect a target man to be scoring a goal like that. In fact, why is it saying that's only his first goal of the season? Well, did that first one go down as an own goal? But there you go, that's Donaldson. That's what he's been signed to do. Little through balls like that. Excellent finish. We're 2-0 up after 17 minutes. This is going well. But yeah, the team instructions, I've tried to minimise them as well. Mainly what I've done is put us on retain possession, play the ball out of defence, and look for overlap. But other than that, I don't want to really fiddle too much. Certainly until we're more comfortable with the system and the players are a little more bedded in. And we are playing a counter-attacking system as well. Just because I expect us to be the underdogs for most matches this season, certainly until we get more used to playing this system. We can always go a bit more attacking as and when the need arises, but I'm pretty happy with that for a first half in the Football League. We're 2-0 up. And yeah, so what? The first one was an own goal. Can't really complain about this at all. So hopefully it's all going to carry on very nicely in the second half. We've had a lot of possession, which is really nice to see as well. Donaldson got in a good position there, and for some reason the highlights ended. It looked like he was going to be ready to slot Nichols through again. Not Nichols, McManus. Nichols is the one who gave him the ball, wasn't he? I really like the way the midfielders are getting out wide, and Platt's done really well there. He's the reason I've got him on support is to just try and push us into being a three-man midfield when we're attacking. Didn't really want to see that happen. But I want us to go sort of 4-1-3-2 when we're defending, and then 4-3-1-2 when we're attacking. That's what I've got in my mind. Whether it ends up being like that, I'm not sure. I might have to switch Donaldson onto support as well to get him to drop further deep when we're defending. I don't really know whether that's going to leave the strikers isolated, so I don't want to fiddle too much at the moment. I want to get them used to playing like this. I'm not even that worried about results for the first month or two of the season. It's all about tactical familiarity and getting the new players bedded into the squad. That was a beautiful free kick, though, from Donaldson. That really was quality. I'm not used to seeing quality like that. You can see the step up into the Football League here. What a free kick. And Glendon has done really well to finish it as well. And I think 3-1 up after 66 minutes. This is time for us to make a couple of changes now. So it's Pleguezuelo? I'm going to have to change his name because I'm never going to remember that. Let's take him off because he's had a bit of a knock. Bring on the other promising young defender, Ryan McConnell, so he can go on at centre-back. And then I'm going to take Tom Nichols off. He's not impressed me at all yet. So we'll put Marcus Haber on. I can't remember what type of forward Marcus Haber is. I'm still learning all the players. He wants to be a target man as well. I'm not playing with two of them. So he's going to have to play as an advanced forward because McManus has done really well as the target man. I'm also not used to having 7 subs. I've just realised as I was pressing confirm, I've got another striker on the bench yet. I probably could have checked to see he's probably an advanced forward. You'd think I'd know that, but I don't. There's a lot of players here. I'll learn them eventually. I'll at least learn the 20 or so I end up using, and the rest will sort of drift away from the team. I'm such a hands-on manager. This is why I've been so successful. And we're going to concede another goal there, and that was poor because we just let them pass the ball around us. Bearing in mind we're playing with a holding midfield player and a flat back 4. We never really pressed them there, and we just let them knock the ball around. No one was ever really on their players, and that was the first worry I've had of this game because I really didn't like the look of that goal. That was dangerous. Right, let's make another change. We've got one more sub left to make. I do need to see if Demetriou. Yeah, he's an advanced forward. Brilliant. Mental note: bring him on for Nichols in future, and Haber comes on from McManus when needed. But for now, we're going to we'll take Osborne off, and we'll bring young Jack Rolls on. We'll put Glendon over to that side as the defensive midfielder, and Rolls can play in the support role. And hopefully he's just going to come in, show a bit of quality, show me why he should be starting games. I'd love it. I'd love this to be the season he breaks through. I'm not expecting him to be a regular this season. Certainly next year I would expect it. But if he decides to make his mark on the team this year, I'll be very happy. We don't want to concede now, though. Come on, Exeter. Let's just keep things going. 5 minutes left, and then this will be a really, really good first day of the season if we can pull a win out of this. Really happy to see Ryan Donaldson get 2 assists. That to me feels like that's justifying spending a lot of money on him and having a system I've not used yet in the Diamond that's given him the creative freedom to get the 2 assists as well. Hopefully he can keep that up. But we don't want to concede here. Winard does well to intercept. We just need to keep hold of the ball now. So Platt's got it. Can't find Donaldson though. But Rolls comes back and does really well to win it. But again, we've lost it. We just need someone to close down. And luckily that's gone wide. There's not been any clear-cut chances in this game, considering it's a game where there's been 5 goals now. Neither side has created a clear-cut chance, and although we've had a lot of possession, we've only had 7 shots. Only 3 of them have been on target. We've all scored all 3 of them. So, although it looks good on paper, the 3-2 in the first game of the season, it's not all going to be plain sailing looking at those stats. But can't complain about that at all. We've won our first game. I'll be back again with the next episode tomorrow, which will be a month or so into the season to see how we're getting on. Hopefully there'll be a few more players coming in, particularly a goalkeeper. And then I'll have to stop spending money because the transfer window will close. If you've enjoyed today's episode, make sure you pop a like on there for me and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on the future episodes. Thanks very much for watching.